people are so thinking about this shiny item.
Sure.
But if you can actually focus on your assets that can produce actual income, that income can buy that shiny thing if you really want it still.
Sure. All right, so here we are. And, you know, for those of you that may or may not have done podcasts in the past, if you guys have, you know, anyone that's ever done their own podcast or their own show, one thing that you always hear people say, and God is a truth, is a lot of the best content always happens before and after the shows, right?
Interesting. Yeah.
So
exactly.
you know, today my guest is, I'm sitting down with Ben Stewart. Ben, thanks so much for coming by, man.
Not a problem. Appreciate it.
Really, really appreciate having you on the show. And you know, we were just jamming right before this time, and I'm almost like, stop talking because I want to get all this content on the actual show, you know. But this is exactly the reason why we kicked off Canada Hustles, okay, and why we're doing this for this initiative. There's so many, we haven't even really got into it yet, but from already what you've told me, it's so freaking inspirational, and you're doing it right here, based out of Ottawa.
You're right in Canada, baby.
You're right in Canada, west coast,
west side.
Yeah, west side boy in the house.
Yeah,
and it's ridiculous. So you know, that's our goal here. Is like, you know, we want to use this as a platform to really showcase a lot of successful Canadian entrepreneurs, and really just help inspire and motivate, you know, some other Canadian entrepreneurs maybe that are a little bit earlier on in their journey. Okay, so. You know, I just want to actually, I always like to start at the beginning for people that haven't heard your story. Okay, so, you know, we're going to get into it. Obviously, you're a very successful entrepreneur. You've ran multiple businesses. You're still running multiple businesses today. But like, let's go back, Ben, to, you know, Ben as a kid, right? So where did you grow up? Did you grow up in Ottawa?
Grew up in Ottawa, yeah. Moved out to Canada in grade 2. So pretty much my whole childhood, Earl of March, Timavik, Canada boy.
Yeah.
I was heavily into sports, played top level soccer and baseball. Those are kind of my main sports, but I was doing martial arts all along as well. And around 18 years old, I had started my landscaping company in grade 11. I actually started a lawn care company that I still have to this day, surprisingly.
Okay.
And so I was balancing school, lawn care company, and trying to play top level baseball. But the thing that came to me the easiest actually was actually martial arts and kicking people in the face. So at around 17, pushing grade 12, I kind of had to make a decision. Am I going to go after my lifelong passion, go for baseball, like pro baseball or anything like that? I realized, no, I'm a Canadian. That's probably not going to happen.
Right.
So I made the decision to follow an entrepreneurial path, run businesses, and pursue my passion of becoming a world champion in karate. So
you're 17?
17 at the time, yeah.
So where did that entrepreneur bug come from? Like, were your parents entrepreneurs?
It's a really interesting thing, and when I tell people, they have a good laugh of it. It's been in my DNA since I was 5 or 6 years old. As soon as, and I remember driving around near here, actually near Slack Road, and I lived in Country Place in kindergarten, grade 1, and grade 1, and there's a place right around the corner from Slack Road. It's a strip club. Okay. And I'm 5 years old, and my dad always reminds me of this story. And we were driving, and I'm like, why does it say silver dollar? Why does it? You know, I would ask my dad
it's
why.
Closed down now, by the way.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
I don't know. I've never been there, anyways. I would look at marketing signs and signs on the street, and ask them, well, why are they saying 50% off, and why are they doing this? And my dad was 30 years in the government, so not an entrepreneurial bone in his body. Okay. No entrepreneurs in my family. None background at all, and at a young age, I was the youngest of 4 kids, single income family, and I know my dad really helped me when I was 13 years old. I wanted back to school clothes, and we didn't have a lot of money to go around in the family. And I asked my dad, and he says, "You're 13 years old now. You want to make some money? You go out and make some money. You're a man now,
right?
And you want to have nice clothes? You go make your own money,
right?"
So that's what I started doing.
Right.
And whether it be lemonade stands, I held the biggest sports card trading club in my elementary school, took over the whole music room every Friday, and had about 200 of the kids in my sports card trading club in grade 7.
Wow.
What they didn't know is I was charging entry fee. And what they didn't know is I was going to the trade shows and getting everything at cost and selling them at retail to these rich kids in Canada.
Sure.
I was making about $400 a week when I was in grade 7.
Wow. 13.
Yeah. I had 9 paper routes.
Okay.
But I had all my friends do them for me, organizing them in competition, and they get to come play video games at my house. whoever was the fastest guy delivering my newspapers would play the Sega Genesis and all the games.
So, dude, you weren't like you.
I was
weren't
organizing people.
I was gonna say you weren't
That's
even
what
figuring out. You were past business. You were figuring out how to scale businesses
scale
at 13.
At 13, yeah, 100%.
You're going, okay, I'm never gonna make the dough I want off this one paper that I gotta do.
So the story behind how I grew my company, Canadian Property Stars, it started with. I had a lawn care business. I was cutting grass. And at the end of my first year, I was using my dad's minivan. And he would only let me do it when it was right for him. And I'm like, I got to get a truck. I need some money. So I went to my lawn care clients, which I had sold door to door.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, if you want to pay for the year up front, I'll give you a free aeration next spring. So I got them to prepay. That got me a down payment, and I got myself my truck.
So Ben, how old are you right now?
16.
You're 16 years old.
16.
So you started off with lawn care.
Cutting grass.
Okay,
like everyone else.
And the aeration was almost like the lost leader?
It was a lost leader. I didn't even know what it was. I just saw a company called Chemlon had aeration. I'm like, that sounds great. Whatever that is, I'll give that for free.
Okay.
And the story was unbelievable because the next spring came along and I had to do these free lawns. I had to do 10 free lawns.
Right.
So I went to Rent-A-Lex to rent an aerator, and I showed up there and they're like, where's your credit card? I'm like, I don't have a credit card. And I called my dad.
16 years old,
I'm
man.
16 years old. And I call my dad. I'm like, can I borrow your credit card? He's like, man, you're an entrepreneur, man. You can figure that on your own. So I opened the Yellow Pages. They existed back then.
Yeah.
And started calling landscaping companies until I found a company that would rent me one for the day.
Okay.
So I actually rented my first aerator from a competing company. And
they had no idea, though, by the way. You were so
I never aerated a lawn in my life.
Yeah, and you were a 16-year-old kid,
16 years old,
so
right? Out of my dad's minivan, right? So I show up with this first lawn, and this is literally how the story started of Canadian Property Stars. I showed up with this first lawn. It's a free lawn. Don't even know how to turn the machine on.
Right.
Start aerating it, figure it out. I get to the front lawn, and I'm like, oh, I'm starting to figure this out. And then a neighbor across the street comes out and says, hey, is that aeration? I said, yeah.
That aeration thing?
That aeration
thing? They saw
thing?
the same truck you saw.
Yeah. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, can you do me too? I'm like, sure. He's like, how much? I'm saying, I don't know, $50. Like, okay. I'm like, well, free lawn, $50 lawn.
Sure.
No, I'll go to the $50 lawn.
Right.
So I go to the neighbor. As I'm coming out, neighbor come across, oh, you're the guy aerating everyone?
Yeah. Sign me up.
I'm like, what's going on here?
Right.
6 hours later, I'm down the street with $600 in my pocket. I just started knocking doors.
The light bulb went on.
And the light bulb went off. And funny enough, that was pretty much the last day I ever went door to door selling aerations. I went to school the next day, Upper Foyette Earl, and said, hey, you got a job? No. You want to come work Saturday? Yeah. You want to come work Sunday? I went and bought myself my first aerator, and I started managing one guy at a time. Year one was one aerator, taught these guys door-to-door sales.
So you immediately started recruiting?
After one day.
Wow.
I saw the light bulb, and I'm like, if I could do that, it's that easy, I can teach people how to do that.
That's crazy now.
Because I still had to cut my grass, right?
Yeah.
If I didn't have to cut my grass, I'd be aerating. So it took me 9 years to figure out a model to scale it.
What year approximately was that?
96.
Okay, so here's what's so crazy about that, man, is because that was a world that social media didn't exist then. So you weren't surrounded by kind of like the social entrepreneurs that we are today.
No.
So where, like this info was just kind of, it's funny because the story is so damn common where, you know, we come from non-entrepreneur families, right? Didn't have entrepreneur friends. You probably were the only one. You were the only one probably out of all your friends, right? But something in your brain, you know, it just you were just thinking differently, and you immediately went to
Victor
recruitment.
Newman.
Okay.
Victor Newman from Young and the Restless.
I didn't know. Never watched it.
Yeah, I'm a little bit older than you. So there was this terrible soap opera called Young and the Restless. And my mom and my sister.
I know what it is. I never watched it. Yeah.
Would watch it. I'm 6 years old, being forced to watch this thing. Okay, there's no cartoons back then.
Right.
And I used to see Victor Newman, who was the owner of Newman Enterprises.
Okay.
And he'd be hitting the heavy bag. He'd be boxing. I never actually saw him work. And I turned to my mom and I said, well, "What's Victor's job?"
Right.
Oh, he's the owner. He doesn't do any work.
Ah.
Because that's the mentality of a non-entrepreneur, right?
Sure.
Oh, they're just the owner. They just have the ivory tower and the
they never worked
in the green lamp.
Or,
they just Right. And I said, I want to do his job.
Right.
So at 5 years old, I knew what an entrepreneur was because I understood they would be the owner and they wouldn't have to work. Now,
interesting.
Obviously, that was very untrue.
And back then, it wasn't even classed entrepreneur, right? It was businessman, right? It was a businessman.
Yep, 100%.
Guys, can we get Ben another chair? This is crazy. It's squeaking. I feel bad.
That's probably my back. No,
that's the chair.
Just messing.
We got more chairs, man.
Swap it out. Let's do this.
We're doing it.
But yeah, that's. I mean, to answer your question, no, there wasn't. You couldn't go online and downline Cardone University. You couldn't do the tools available to anyone wanting to be an entrepreneur now is just completely nuts. You would have to literally search them out, and you'd have to be a fan of the library or chapters. And at 13, I started reading the Guerrilla Marketing series, J. Conrad Levinson.
Okay.
Guerrilla Marketing is for the home-based business, was the first business book I read. And I wasn't a studious student. I got average grades.
Yeah.
But I was a student of entrepreneurship, of sales and marketing. And I read over 1,000 books between 13 years old and about 28 years old on sales and marketing, psychology, motivation, public speaking.
Sure.
You name it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like iTunes downloads. It was literally going to chapters and buying a book.
It was actually work to get the information.
Yeah, there was no audiobooks, and then they had the CD programs. I got stacks of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Get Carnegie, you name it.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can definitely relate. I mean, like, very similar. I had no idea that I was an entrepreneur. Now that you look back and I see all these things, like I was starting businesses at 12 too, and you just didn't know it. I was just always that friend that like, oh, there's Andrew, he's a salesman, right? He's got the gift of gab, but never, never did I know that, I was an entrepreneur until, later into my 20s.
Yes.
But man, it's crazy. And you know what? Fun fact, and this is only going to resonate with the people listening and watching from Ottawa. But when you said you grew up in Canada, so I grew up in Bell's Corners.
Okay, cool.
So pretty damn close, man.
Down the road.
Yeah, right down the road. So crazy. So you're 17 now. You've been selling shit since you were 13.
Yeah.
And now you're 17, and now you actually have a real business.
Yes.
Now, like, what stage did you turn it to a real company in terms of like, okay, I actually need to get it incorporated and get a bank account?
Incorporation was 2004.
Yeah.
But no, my business right away from 96, 97, sole proprietorship, year-end taxes, the whole works right away. And I self-educated myself on all of that.
So you're 17, 18 doing accounting and year-end taxes,
bookkeeping,
your HST
accounting.
Remittances.
Well, back then it was just GST, but yeah. Or we probably had something else. But no, it started really young, and in my space, lawn care, landscaping, most of the businesses are like these cash businesses or whatever case. But I was running legit, from the beginning. And it took me many years to figure out the model before I could really scale it. So a lot of people have seen my business over the years. Oh, he's got these vans, he's got these trailers and aerators and all these guys, and you just put them out, they make all kinds of money. What they didn't see is that I learned how to motivate my high school friend, one guy, to be in commission sales. One guy. Yeah. And then the next year was 3 guys. And the next year was 3 guys. Then 5, 8, 13, 34, 84, 149, 330, 600, to a point where I had a capacity of 1,200 aerators a day. But that took me 15 years.
Sure.
They see the picture and they say, oh, that's easy. Well,
yeah.
How do you motivate a guy commission sales when he's got nothing and he's on a corner and it's raining on him?
Right.
Right. So that was the intellectual property. Is what I developed over the years was a model to not only recruit sales staff, but put them in a commission environment and have them excited to be there.
Right.
So I gamified, they call it now, but I turned CPS, and Eric was a part of it, into a sport. So we would have metrics like a green jacket from the Masters golf tournament. They wouldn't say, hey, I did 750 in sales. They'd say, hey, I got my green jacket.
Right.
They wouldn't say, oh, I got my gold. They wouldn't say I made 1,000 in sales. They got their gold jersey, Tour de France, or their silver hat. So these were the metrics.
You're gamifying it, man.
We gamified it where it was never about sales. It was about the equiv and what their score was. I got a 32 today. They weren't saying I got a $800. They were saying I got a 32 today.
Right.
Right. And so I turned into sport because I was a competitive athlete. I thought sports, anyone who likes sports will like to come and play sports.
Yeah.
You can turn your job into a sport. Now you're playing every day.
It's brilliant.
And that was the way I developed it. And that's when I was able to scale it. And if my kids couldn't make money, I couldn't grow. So I had to think about the staff and the team first, push performance. But if they can get paid, I can grow. They'll bring their friends in. They'll stay around, because door-to-door sales is super hard.
Right.
Right. And that's what enabled us to grow across the country.
And that's what I was going to get into. So like, what did this look like when you're recruiting your one friend? Then the next year it was 3 friends. It was all door-to-door.
Yes.
So like, was there any advertising all being done?
So to grow my business, my entire marketing budget was marketing towards staff.
Okay.
Staff recruitment.
Okay.
So my marketing budget on an annual basis.
Yeah.
Staff recruitment.
Got it.
So whether that be now, it's a lot of stuff's online, but I mean, we're at all the trade shows, the school recruiting events, flyering, online, newspaper, radio,
Sure.
bus shelter ads, like you name it, because we know that if we have the right team recruited,
Yeah.
trained, and then managed correctly, the revenue comes in my business.
So you knew right away. You figured it out. There was
Zero
about the people.
outbound marketing for clients.
Right.
Zero.
So it was all knocking on doors.
I mean, I had a landscaping business.
Yeah.
Like, so we're doing lawn care, we're cutting grass. So that had traditional marketing.
Sure.
And my business stayed small until I got rid of it.
Right.
So from 96 till 2004, I ran a lawn care business.
Yeah.
With this kind of 30-day aeration season where we knocked doors for 30 to 45 days. The rest of the year was a traditional company, snow removal, the whole works.
Yeah.
And I had my karate schools. So I was running my karate schools. I was running the landscaping business. I was competing on the national team. So that was all going till 2004 when I realized in 30 days of aerating, my net on the aerating is bigger than 11 months working hard in all these traditional services with the traditional marketing.
Right.
So I sold my landscaping company in 2004, and that's what enabled my business to scale. Up until that point, like 2004 in my basement, $250,000 in sales.
Wow.
Within 5-6 years from there, $10 million.
Incredible, man.
Poking holes in the grass.
Right.
Right. So
you know what? I think I just want to draw attention to this because I feel like so many other entrepreneurs are going to relate to this. Anybody that's been in business, but what happened was your main business started by accident out of something else you were doing. It's funny, right?
And then once you hammer down that niche,
right?
I got to be the best at marketing and providing aeration. That one service. I just have to find a way to sell to 100,000 people.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to do an interlock job for 50 people and being broke.
Sure.
So that's the concept. Little thing, massive volume.
So
Find a way to make the workers make enough money for it to grow. And if they get paid, they'll grow. And if they grow, the doors grow.
This is such a great sales success story. Like you built the whole company, the enterprise on the backs of door-to-door sales,
100%.
Which is the hardest type of sales you can
100%.
do. Right. Like obviously I can imagine you probably had like a training regimen. You're probably writing internal training. Right.
Our management manual is over 300 pages.
I was going to say, because you can't just hire these guys and throw them on the street.
Well, they all like to say that I did that. But at the end of the day, when these staff come in, they get their initial training every single morning, without fail. They come in, they get their attendance, morning sales training, product knowledge, psychological training.
Yeah.
We have, I wrote a book in 2011 called Taking Your Life to the Next Level. And it is a book, 200-page book, specifically teaching a CPS staff member how to excel at door to door.
So you wrote a book for your internal staff, for your internal team, right?
100%. 185 pages of content on when it's raining out, the right psychology, when there's another kid with an aerator down the street, the psychology you have to defeat him, and whether there's nobody home. Yeah. So you don't trip over success. And people look at a landscaping business as an example and say, well, how did you scale it to that? Like, well, I can tell you I didn't trip over it.
Right.
Content material. We have probably 800 videos, 800 video trainings, whether that be the 23 basic objections homeowners give you or the 53 intermediate advanced, 4 different ways to overcome every one of them.
Right.
So we know what homeowners are going to say, and obviously, Cardone, I can read your books. I got every one of those up on my shelf at home.
Yeah.
And one of the things that Cardone talks about is just the fact that you can anticipate what's actually going to be happening on the call.
Sure.
And, when you seek mastery in sales, because I'm a sales guy, I'm not a landscaping company, I'm a sales business, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when you can achieve mastery in sales of whatever you're particularly providing, you can already anticipate what this homeowner is going to do. You can see the look on their face when they appear in front of you. And the hardest form of sales is door to door.
Yeah.
But understanding not only how to pre-frame that homeowner, but how to position what you have to provide as a solution.
Well, it's body language, tonality, like everything. That is door to door, and they're immediately open the door in a defensive mode.
You got it.
Right. So it's
it's such a beautiful thing. Take a guy like Eric, comes in, did a few years with me, and he can come into this environment.
Yeah.
And as long as you got a system in place that he can plug into, he'll smash.
Yeah.
And I've got hundreds of guys that have done time with me through college or whatever. And I'm always the first guy who's their cheerleader when they move on to another industry or as an entrepreneur or a sales professional, because I love seeing the fundamentals and the foundation that I provided in my company going to work other places as well.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, we've talked about that. And, for those of you that are watching and listening, so somebody that works with me today, Eric, started off actually working for Ben. And, you know, he says, without a doubt, like the kind of core and it's funny because it was actually on an unconscious level back then, because you were teaching him things back then that he didn't even realize you were teaching him,
Yes.
right? Because, you know, he was an immature, messed up kid at that time. But as he's matured in his career and his life, he's now realizing, he's going like, man, like subconsciously, Ben was actually instilling these foundational, you know, skills that today are, you know, are just taking him to a whole new level. So
well, I love the name of your show.
Okay.
Canada Hustles.
Canada Hustles. Yeah.
Dude, like I'm 41 years old. I've been in this business since 95.
Yeah.
And, you know, people think, you know, success is about building this company and then watching it and this kind of stuff. No. On Friday, I have a gala for my instructor. He's suffering from Parkinson's. I'm putting that on in Ottawa. Saturday, I'm on a plane to Calgary. Get in there Saturday night. I'm loading up 12 Calgary workers. I'm driving through the mountains Sunday morning to Vancouver with 12 Calgary workers because it's snowing. Yeah. Season's done. And we're going to be doing lawn rejuvenation, fall lawn rejuvenation in BC. Tuesday morning, I'm going to have my 30 guys out rocking doors, selling power raking, and I'll be raking lawns on Tuesday. When I say I don't mean my company, I mean Ben Stewart. You never take your success. You never take what you have for granted. You have to be willing to fight for it every single day because you don't know where you're going to be next year. You don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And so I'm about this is not a black collar, this is a blue collar. And, you know, that's what a lot of entrepreneurs, you know, take for granted. When things are going well, it's so easy to say, man, things are happening. No, when things are going well, now you got to drop the hammer.
100%.
You know, and I can feel that energy off you.
Yeah.
So like, I know you could appreciate. So when I see the word
so
hustles,
much.
I'm like, it's all about the hustle.
Yeah.
It's all about the hustle.
And it doesn't stop.
Because why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah. Well, you just touched on something too. I mean, a lot of people take it for granted because when you touch a little bit of success, that's when people will step off the gas.
Or buy shiny things.
Yeah, right. And
get dirty.
And you could lose it much quicker than you got it.
You got it.
And I think for a lot of us, it took a couple probably losses to realize, right? Yeah. You know, we all this kind of pain in our face and our eyes that we could see. So something else that's just like, you know, so obvious is another art that you've mastered besides sales is clearly time management.
Yes, sir.
Because you just are not physically able to accomplish all these things that you're doing in the time that you have because you've got the same 12, 14-hour workday that I've got. Mm-hmm. And you know, as much as I'd like to sit here and say I was freaking a world champion running businesses, you know, running at 18, I wasn't, right? So, you know, before we turn on the mics, you were telling me about this book that you wrote.
Yes.
When did you write this book, Ben?
Wrote it in 2007.
So this book is called Millionaire in 90 Days. You wrote it back in 2007.
Yep.
And
working out at the gym.
Working out at the gym.
Yep.
Yeah, Millionaire in 90 Days, but while you were working out at the gym. Okay. Yes. And you know, thank you for this. I'm actually really looking forward to reading it. But can you touch on what this book is, you know, what this book is about?
Yeah, the book is about the development, taking the kind of 16 to 24 age group, that young age group that I was at that time, well, still employing with my job, and showing them there's a different way. You know, when most kids get out of high school, they get into college, it's like they're going to study and they're going to party on weekends and have that mentality, and then 3 years expire. When I was in college, I was just waiting for that final day so I could become the full entrepreneur.
Right.
I was running businesses right through college. I was fighting on the national team right through college. And so many people in life, they like to talk about time. And it's usually in a negative context. I don't have time to go to the gym because I have a job. I don't have time to have a side hustle because I go to school.
Right.
You know, these kind of things. And one of the things they lack is really the training and the understanding that it's okay to be different. It's okay not to sit in that 80-20 principle and that 80% of mediocre individuals that go through the motions and they're going to listen to the government. They're going to listen to mainstream media and say, go to school, get a job, work your job, punch your clock, have your weekend, you know, all this other stuff. Whereas at that age, when you're young and you've got that energy,
sure,
you have a great opportunity to blast. So I was a little bit different because at the age of 16, Arnold Schwarzenegger was the man back then. He had 20 Hummers.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I need my Hummer. I got to have my Hummer by 2025. I got to have my Hummer.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be a millionaire and I'm going to be a world champion. And this, I'm talking about this stuff when I'm an orange belt. I'm not even a black belt. I'm talking about this stuff, but I knew what I wanted. And in order to do that, a lot of people would say, well, Ben, you sacrifice so much. And as in you sacrifice never drinking a drop of alcohol. Well, my argument is, what has alcohol ever done for anyone?
Sure. Good.
You know,
What good has it ever done for anyone?
It's never done anything for anyone.
Yeah.
At any point.
Right.
Right. Smoking cigarettes. They kill you. I mean, we don't have to talk about the things that I made a decision at a young age. Like, well, this doesn't compute why I would ever touch something like that.
Right.
Because I know my buddies, when they were very smart, they did well in school. But on a Saturday morning, I could be at 7 a.m. on a lawn doing work when they're still in bed hungover. And I was at the club the previous night.
Sure.
So it's not like I missed out.
Right.
I just made certain choices.
Sure.
And what this book is about is showing these college kids and showing this generation there's other options. Why don't you make a decision? You're going to spend your college years testing out some business ideas.
Sure.
You're in school, man. You're living at home. Like,
now
screw up now, man.
That is the time.
There's no risk.
I know. Yeah.
Right. And so it's that kind of thing. But the big thing that a lot of people get out of this book, other than maybe a little motivation, is my systems on time management. And that was one of the things you brought up.
Yeah.
I use something called time clumping.
Okay.
Where the only way for me to have the different things I did, like as in be a pro athlete and fight at the world championships, and while still running this company and a karate school and a sales company, was.
And you were just running it. You were scaling it. Like you were in full-fledged scale mode.
Big time.
Yeah.
Right. We were in my basement in 2004. By 2012, we had 16 corporate locations across the country, Vancouver to Ottawa, everywhere in between, every major center. Corporate, not franchises.
Right.
So I owned every one of them, and I had managers that I had trained on my business, running my $1 million businesses in all these locations, no franchises, right? That can only happen if you create time in your life.
Right.
And I still wanted to fight, and I still wanted to have a girl and a family and this kind of stuff. So as an example, on Friday, that's the end of my training. And then I get on a plane, and I'm going to be in Alberta for 11 days. And I'm going to make sure that my fall program gets up to speed. My guys are crushing it. Then I have top guys coming in to take the handoff for me. They're going to manage for me till mid-November. I get on a plane, come home, Thanksgiving with the family. Next day, fly to Zurich, and I'm fighting in Austria.
You're defending your title, you said.
Defending my world title.
Yeah.
So I've spent the last 30 days just getting myself in shape.
Right.
Right. But prior to that, I was working in this company. Prior to those 2 months, I had my kids' triathlon season where every weekend I'm driving all over North America. So you can accomplish it, but time clumping is saying, okay.
So I'm not familiar with that. So tell me about.
The concept is this. Tony Robbins. A lot of people talk about this, where you have your power hour or whatever. You know, you told me 5:45, you're getting up in Carlton Place doing yoga.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to segment of your day, whether it be day or time, you're going to segment 90 minutes is my time. But you're going to crush those 90 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. Flip the switch. Now I'm all business until 4 p.m. Flip the switch. Now I'm all about my kids until 7 p.m. Flip the switch. But you have to have the ability to switch it and actually have that laser beam focus for you to be successful. Because how many entrepreneurs lose their wife and their families and their kids?
Too many.
How many entrepreneurs lose their health through stress, overweight, et cetera, et cetera? Most.
Yeah.
Right. So understanding the potential risks as an entrepreneur, like if you want to be a savage entrepreneur, like if you want to really crush, you can have everything. You can actually have it if you're willing to say, well, I can't do that for those 3 hours. I have to be doing this if I want to achieve my goals. And for me, it was, I still wanted to fight, but I knew logistically every spring I'm gone for 100 days. I get on a plane February 5th. I don't come home till June, and I'm out. I start in Vancouver where there's no snow, and I get every single one of my cities launched across the country. I'm there on the road, out of a motel, route managing 94 days straight this year. I was in a van, 16-hour days with my team, 94 days straight at 41 years old.
Yeah.
And it's a joke. It's easy. I have to manage. I have to work harder than every one of my staff. I have to do it. Not because I have to, because I have to.
Right.
I need to improve. I'm the guy who actually signs up for Cardone University in November and does the entire course in 43 days.
Right.
I'll do that in 43 days because I have a 43-day window before I have to get back to work again.
So it's incredible, man. Like
that's clumping. It's taking that and just really.
I've never heard of that analogy before.
But that's how you do it.
I could not agree with it more, because I'll tell you, kind of my take on that, which is, I think, ultimately the same thing. Because what you just told me is this, Ben, is that whatever it is you're doing, because you know what, a word that gets thrown around a lot in entrepreneurship is balance, right? Mm-hmm. Which is, everyone's looking for this this mystical code of
Yes,
balance.
yes.
And you know,
Evenings and weekends at hotmail.com.
yeah, you know,
I got you.
And you know, I was actually listening to a podcast with, are you familiar with Ed Milet?
I know the name. I don't.
Okay, you should check him out, man. I think you'd really enjoy a lot of his content, but Ed's great. And Ed was talking about something, you know, about, it's not about balance, it's actually about presence. And what you just told me is this, is that whatever it is you're doing, you're fully present. 100%. You see, and I've suffered for this for a long time, and I've been doing it wrong. Okay, I'll tell you, when I get home at, you know, 8, 9, 10, sometimes I got home at 10:45, 11 p.m. last night, okay? Yeah. My kids are in bed. But when I get home at, like, let's say 8 and the kids are still up, I'm physically there, but a lot of times mentally I haven't been.
You have 30 minutes.
I'm doing it wrong.
You got to be a real man for 30 minutes.
100%. See, I was doing it wrong.
Yeah.
And you know, because I wasn't actually present. So I wasn't all in. And what you just explained to me with your time clumping is, you're like, look, my 90 minutes, it's my 90 minutes. I'm all in on it. And then you're all in on your business for 3 hours, and you're all in on maybe family or whatever it is, right? Yeah. So it's like, dude, this is gold. These are golden nuggets.
Imagine having 3 kids that there's nothing more, like, everyone has a why. If you're in business and you want to do well, or in school, whatever I teach the why a lot. And having that burning desire to achieve it. And once upon a time, my why was, I wanted to have a big company. I want to be successful. I want to be a world champion. Those are really, to me, those are kind of materialistic whys. Having children, having my family, transition my why to my kids and my family. And that, you know, I manage in the field more days than I ever did when I had no kids and no wife. And the reason is because my why is so much stronger. I want to provide a future, a legacy for my family. And it makes getting up, going all day, not being tired. Like, my manager's looking at, my workers are looking at me like, how do you have this energy, man?
Yeah.
I missed 92 days in a row, baby.
Yeah.
I'm not up to 100 yet.
Right.
At 100, I get to go home and see my kids. Right. And imagine flying away from your 3 kids. I don't see them for 100 days.
Right. Like, you're physically
I'm
gone.
physically in another province.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
You know, FaceTime's great.
Yeah.
Right. But so you need to have that superhero wife on board. That's on board with that. And so the argument would be like, man, you're away from your kids for 100 days. That's so bad. Blah, 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 blah. Yes. But when I'm home with my family,
you're fully present. Right.
Right. Yeah. And you know, how many dads can 5 days a week in the summer wake up with your kids and take them on their bike to the track for running, back to the pool, and spend that quality time, give them that training, put them on that level, because I don't have to go to a job during that clump of time.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the whole idea behind time clumping, is you can't have the balance they talk about, but that balance is for the mediocre.
Right.
Right. Why not be savage? Why not be present? Why not attack the time you have so that you can actually enjoy more in the same window of time?
It's incredible, man. I could not agree more. Dude, that's
that's all I've been doing. That's what it teaches in the book.
Okay, so in this book, in the Millionaire in 90 Days, that's really what you go into. So time clumping, I just learned something new. Yeah. But yeah, it's the power of presence.
100%.
Right? Man, you've been able to accomplish so much. And then when we were going into this book, we flipped it open and another little book fell out. Okay.
Yeah.
And this one is 52 quality tips. Okay. And it looks like a cell phone.
Yeah.
Which I found kind of cool. And then why don't you talk a little bit about this? Why did you, first off, when did you create this one? What was the year again? This was
2007.
When did you create this one?
2016.
Okay.
Yeah. A couple of years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. I got a hip replacement. My hip had been burnt out for years, and the pain in the middle of the night. When I get my sleep, I want it.
Yeah.
I wasn't getting any of it. So I got my hip replacement. And so I was stuck in bed for about a month. And I'm like, imagine being in bed and not being productive for a month, Ben Stewart.
Yeah. You're going nuts.
That's not happening.
Yeah.
So I'm going to write a book. Now, the problem with the book is they had me on some Dilaudid and some morphine. And so, you know, maybe there's a little bit of grammar. I was having a good time. I was pretty happy while I wrote it.
Yeah.
But the idea behind that is I have found over the past 10 years, and you can weigh in on this, but I found over the past 10 years, the new generation, the new youth coming up are completely different than 10 years ago or 15 years ago. The way they've been brought up on an iPad and on a tablet and in an on-demand society.
Sure.
I grew up with Saturday morning cartoons.
Right.
The rest of the week, you're either running around playing a sport or with your friends, or you're at school.
Yeah.
Like nowadays, streets are vacant.
Yeah.
Kids are sitting in there on their computers. They're sitting in there, you know.
It's a different world, man.
We had video games too, man, but like they didn't consume us.
Right.
Right.
You're right.
And so the idea is over the past 10 years, I found in my business, because the average age is 18 to 30 in my business, is that they have a lot tougher time because of this instant gratification world they live in. They have a lot tougher time focusing
Yeah.
and maintaining attention. So almost all of my training now is either face-to-face or video-based, because that's what they're used to now. The video is not face-to-face. And this book was something that I use more as a giveaway to my staff, because they know cell phones. They see it and they're like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll open it.
Sure.
If I can get them to open it, and they open it and it's a tip, pretty much any page you can move up to would be, meal prep to efficient health. Why should I become a millionaire? How about this one? Kick your own ass.
Right.
This one's called Kick Your Own Ass. It's chapter 19. Don't wait for someone else to push you to success. Champions in sport and life kick their own asses. You'll be amazed how much the human body can handle when the focus, determination, and will is unwavering. Push your body, push your mind, and start getting the results you want today. So the idea is it's a small snapshot, 52 weeks of the year, 52 words or less. And I figure the average kid, I can hold him for 30 seconds. If I can hold him for 20 seconds, and he just reads that one page today, maybe he'll say, you know what, I'm gonna step up today.
Right.
And that was the concept behind the book.
That's gonna light the fire.
Yeah,
that's gonna light the fire.
Because I can't get him to read the other book.
You know what?
That's 200 pages.
Yeah, they're not reading this one.
Yeah.
You should.
You should, but
you should read it.
Yeah.
It's hilarious, and I couldn't agree more. It's certainly a different world. I saw a meme last week. Okay, and the meme was. It was a picture of like a bunch of bicycles on the front lawn. It's like, this is how we used to know where our friends were, right?
That's
because
really cool.
you'd see all the bikes. Oh, there's where my buddies are at, right? Because we didn't have phones. We weren't able to text.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. One thing you touched on a few moments ago was the why.
Yes.
Right. And your why, and how over time it gets redefined.
Correct.
Okay. And I want to talk about that for a second. Okay. Because it's funny. You were talking about the why before Simon was, right?
Yes.
And, I think that you hear a lot about the why, and I also want to talk to some younger entrepreneurs right now. Okay. Who's listening, that if you just listen to what Ben said, it's okay over time. What happens is you will actually redefine your why.
100%.
I want to call out something right now, because I think that a lot of people might frown upon it. Okay. Most of us start, and our why is extremely materialistic. I want to get rich.
That's okay.
That is
Nothing wrong
okay.
with that.
Now that's not sustainable for your whole life, but
No.
but I'll tell you right now, okay,
Your ass.
it'll take care of itself. It'll evolve naturally over time. Right. So when Ben was a 17-year-old kid starting the aeration line, you probably just wanted that shiny thing.
I wanted a Hummer.
You wanted the damn Hummer, like Arnold,
I wanted
right?
Arnold's Hummer.
And I think that there's a lot of stuff going on right now where it's really being frowned upon, the materialistic. And it's funny, because one of the things I actually look for, especially when we're hiring younger people at the company, like in this age bracket, I actually look if they have that desire to be rich. Okay, because that you need that, like you said, because that's the fire. It's okay if it's a damn Lamborghini right now. I know over time. Well, I laugh, right? I'm like, hey, dude, you're gonna get married, you're gonna have kids, you're gonna redefine your focus and your why. But right now, I'd rather hire the kid that wants the Hummer than the kid that doesn't.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
So it's like that's okay. The materialistic why is okay to start. You got it, because, guys like Gary will say, like, look, like, Gary will tell you that, screw all things materialistic, right? And he's so authentic, and it just bleeds out of the guy. I love him. But I also know that, like, I know there's thousands of kids listening that were like me, because I'll tell you, like, 17, 18-year-old Andrew just wanted to get rich. Mm-hmm. Right. That was the focus was shiny shit.
That's an easy picture to say, I want to be able to do what I want, when I want, and get what I want.
Right.
And that's going to get me up every morning.
Right.
Right. I have a perfect example of that. You have these materialistic goals, you have these things that you want. And one of the things I always wanted on top of the Hummer, because I did get the Hummer, was
awesome.
Paid cash. But the one thing I wanted was the Aston Martin Vanquish after seeing the Bond movies.
Yeah.
And that was kind of my goal after the Hummer.
Sure.
So in 2010, once we'd expanded a little bit more, I actually found a broker in Arizona. I had the Vanquish down there, ready to go. I moved the funds down to Arizona.
Okay.
And I went down and I test drove this thing. So I'd wanted this thing for like 15 years. Oh my God. And like, I'm such a non-materialistic guy. I'm a shorts and t-shirt kind of guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
A suit is for a wedding and a funeral. That's about it. Right?
Sure.
So I go down there and I had a great deal on it. It was going to be a great deal on it. And I test drove it.
What year was that roughly?
This was 2010.
So our dollar was great.
It was 1-to-1.
Right. There
Yes.
you go.
Oh, yeah. So I go down there and I test drove it. And I was going to get it for, it was 105,000 US at 1-to-1 par. And it had 4,000 kilometers on it. It was $250,000 car.
Right.
So I test drove it. And I'm like, it's too small. I'm a truck guy.
Sure.
I'm a truck guy. This isn't me. Like, this is not a status symbol. Like, why do I actually want this? Do I want this because I like the movie? Do I want this because I want to say I have a Vanquish?
Yeah.
So I sat down, I'm like, it's small. I would only be buying this if this was about a material I want.
Right.
I wouldn't be buying this because
or perception.
I drive a pickup truck, man.
Right. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm down there. I'm like, no, I'm going to call Alan Davis. He's my real estate guy down there. And I went and bought 2 foreclosures at $50,000 a piece.
Sure. Good time to be 2010.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bought 16 houses that year in Phoenix.
Okay.
At 50 grand a piece. Those homes are all worth 200 G's now.
Yeah.
Right. Cash flow properties down there.
Yeah.
So that was probably the best decision I ever made. People are so thinking about this shiny item.
Sure.
But if you can actually focus on your assets that can produce actual income, that income can buy that shiny thing if you really want it still.
Sure.
But you normally find out as you age, you don't actually care about that shiny stuff. That's usually what ends up happening through maturity.
100%. Sometimes the universe, sometimes you have to get the things you thought you wanted to realize that you don't
need them.
You didn't even need them, right?
You got it.
And that's the problem with materialistic, goals is they never stop. Like once you get the Hummer, you want the Aston. Once you get the Aston, you want the helicopter. Once you get the helicopter, you want the jet, right? For sure. But it's a good arrow in it. And I hear a lot of, I just hear a lot of people being shit on for focusing on materialistic. And I'm like, no, it's not bad. It's actually usually how it starts. Mm-hmm. Right. Because most entrepreneurs kind of start off with that.
Yes. 100%.
So today, man, Ben, what does it look like today? So you're still running the company you started at 17, which is like, you should call Guinness.
Yeah.
Right? Exactly. Like when does that happen?
Yeah, exactly.
You haven't flipped it because obviously it turned into a good cash flow business. Mm-hmm. What else have you done? Have you got into any other kind of business ventures? So, obviously you've done a lot of investing.
Yeah. At 20, like my goal at 17, 18 years old was actually to own a karate school.
Okay.
So I wanted to teach karate. I wanted to kick people in the head. I love teaching. And that was what I wanted to do as an entrepreneur.
Right.
But how many 16-year-old orange belts can't own a karate school?
Right.
But you can start cutting grass.
Yeah.
So the whole lawn care deal and that direct sales company it just morphed into something where I was running the karate school when I graduated Algonquin. 2000, I bought the school from my instructor, Steve Anderson. I bought his school in Canada. And I was a school owner. For 15 years, I owned a karate school in Canada. And my thought was that's what I would do for a living.
Right.
Right. And I did that. But the thing is that I was limited. My scalability in that industry was the 20 kids on the floor in front of me. And as the lawn care and direct sales business started to grow, I started to look at this like, I'm leaving this lawn care and this direct sales company to teach 10 kids karate.
Right.
Whereas I'm in front of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people with CPS. And by 2009, I'd made my girlfriend wait 8 years to marry me. By 2009, I'm like, okay, we'll get married. And when we get married, we'll have kids. And that was when I made the decision, I'll sell the karate schools and I'll get out of the martial arts industry. I still ran the national team, but in terms of running a school, sold the schools off and closed the schools and focused on just scaling CPS. And that's kind of where that happened. During that time, you hear about the success stories, but you don't always hear about the failures.
Yeah.
And you'll run a company, and I'm sure, every 6 months you come up with a new idea and you got to taste test different things. I've had little side divisions and side business. Remember, we sold toys. Like we done all kinds of different little things, finding that next big thing. Because if you're not evolving, you're dying.
100%.
Right. And my business has gone through a transition these past 5 years. Back in 2013, I made 10 times the money I make right now.
Yeah.
Right. And in up to 2013. We could literally, with my system, with my manual, my training, we could say, Calgary, fly into Calgary with no clients, no staff, no warehouse. I go in, I get a lease, I utilize my preseason to recruit and build my team, and we have a $2 million business. And I was able to duplicate
And you
that.
could pop those up in basically any market that had the population to support
market
it.
that had the population corporately, because of my business model, my business system I developed, and because of the relationships I had developed with my suppliers. So if I'd call up my aerator guy and say, I need 200 aerators, I need 100 aerators, he'd ship them out to Calgary for me.
Right.
I'll pay you in 60 days.
Sure.
So vans, up front,
Yeah.
trailers, all the core equipment that holds people back capital wise.
Yeah.
I focus on supplier relationships. It's a really big thing for me.
That's wise.
And that's what enabled me to grow at the speed I did corporately. Most companies that want to grow, they have to look at a licensing model or a franchising model to actually get the capital to grow. Whereas I did it through my suppliers and through an actual margin business that was working.
Right.
So up to 2013, we're running out of cities. I'm across Vancouver. I got an island operation at Calgary, Edmonton, London, Windsor, Barrie, like you name it. I got them across the country. And I'm like, okay, what's next? Quebec and the US. And I opened up in California, San Jose, California, and Denver, Colorado. And that was the quote unquote TSN turning point, Canadian boy, where we quickly found out this doesn't work everywhere.
Okay.
And I invested over $2 million into that growth.
Mm-hmm.
And overnight our business changed. I had an entire executive team scaling corporately, and the research team, like the whole works. And after 30 days, we pulled out of San Jose. And after our first year, we had the Ministry of Labor in Denver trying to challenge our business model and everything
Sure.
like this, because they're so used to Americans coming to Canada, not Canadians going to America.
Right.
So they weren't feeling it.
Right.
Colorado was working.
Okay.
My kids were crushing it. They're all high. It was perfect.
Okay.
Everything was rolling.
Okay.
Right. So yeah, they had just legalized. No, Colorado was a joke, but
Yeah,
they just legalized that year. But they were definitely all high.
Yeah.
But things were going great down there. So we made a decision after that year to pull out. So you put this huge.
The states were just challenging the business model, like the door-to-door thing?
Colorado. Yeah, San Jose, we couldn't get people.
Okay.
San Jose at that time with Obama, there was a 14.9% youth unemployment rate in California, in San Jose, in that area. And I went into I was there. So like, if I'm going to win in my business, I'm going to be there. If I'm going to lose, I brought a management team down, but I was on campus, San Diego State, recruiting for my team.
Yeah.
Walking up to soccer players, baseball players, like you name it, talking to these guys. And something happened in the US that I could not believe. And I'm glad this is a Canadian show. People watching this from Canada should really appreciate the country they live in.
Yeah.
In 30 days in San Jose, I experienced with my staff more racism than in 20 years in Canada in 30 days.
Wow.
And it was the mentality there was unbelievable, because I always believed.
And that's not even a southern state. Like you're in San Jose, you're in California.
San Jose, which is a melting pot, Northern Cali,
right.
like supposed to be totally open.
Sure.
But when I went into the colleges, the white guys would say, oh, sales job? Yeah, no. I'm like, yeah. And the reason why our model is successful is because not only do you sell it, you have the equipment there and you service it. So you're getting paid both the sales commission and
the service commission.
The technical commission, right?
Yeah.
Oh, what do you mean? I'm going to do the work? I'm like, yeah, you're right. He's like, can't we just get the Mexicans for that?
Wow.
So that was an actual mentality. And then of course the Mexicans, go to Home Depot. They're all standing out there. You can get the Mexicans, but they won't sell.
Right.
So suddenly you have the black guys, which is less than 2% in San Jose, and the black guys will do the job just fine.
Right.
But then you go into Mountain View, California, old US money, racism at the door.
Wow.
So
right.
it was just such a weird, the homeowners love the service. Any white guy I had there that was cool with it would just kill it every single day.
Sure.
But because of those weird factors that I never dealt with, you can't see that in the percentage and the research and the numbers. You can't see
You
that.
had to go experience it.
You have to live it.
You had no idea, man.
Yeah. So it slapped us in the face. I pulled out. That put us into $2 million debt that we had to pay off with a smaller company.
Sure.
And that timed with the change in mentality of the youth in Canada.
Right.
People grow up, we'd be at dinner together. If we were friends, we'd be texting each other. That's the new generation. We
Right.
Snapchat each other. We don't talk anymore.
For sure.
We're 18-year-olds in 2019.
Right.
We're gonna be at dinner with our wife and we're just on our phone. We're not even looking at each other.
Right.
Like the mentality has changed so much. So if you think about what my business is, face-to-face marketing in the hardest form of sales on earth.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the actual confidence of the average kid coming in, communication skill of the average scared of his own shadow, plus add that to the mentality of immediate gratification. I need to make money today.
Sure.
I can't learn a skill.
Right.
I want it handed to me.
Yeah.
So a lot of those challenges were timed with that same time where I had to contract my business. So what we've done the past 5 years, it's been my most challenging financial years of my entire business career.
Yeah.
Up until 2013.
You're just printing money.
I built my whole business on a credit card.
Yeah.
Not $1 of debt.
Yeah.
Just after 2014, massive loads of debt, contraction, and contracting a business that has warehouse leases and equipment and vans, like it's not simple to do that.
No.
Over the last 5 years, I've now just finished my last step where we're down to our 6 major markets,
Okay.
our 6 successful cities, and we've slowly but surely closed all of our smaller underperforming locations to ensure that we can actually be profitable again.
Sure.
Like that's literally been, and it's funny because I had such a large company. It's still considered a large company, but I've become so much more of an entrepreneur through the struggle that I ever was before. I'm sure you could probably appreciate
100%,
that. When things are easy, you're rolling, baby.
Yeah.
Like,
you're not innovating.
But when things are tough, you have to innovate. And we've made those innovations within our model. Eric would be blown away to hear this. On our onboarding, just starting this summer, we do guaranteed income now. Kids come in, they have guaranteed income their first 2 weeks on the job through that training phase, because our analytics show that if I can have him for 8 days, if he works with me for 8 days, I know he's making $150, $200 every day he steps in.
Right.
The problem is that how many days is he going to come in struggling before he leaves?
Right.
So we've made the changes in our business, whereas like a Blockbuster Video didn't, and then they disappeared.
Yeah.
Right. So we've made the changes in the past, over the past 2 to 3 years.
Are you still hiring like the younger kid? Like, because it sounds to me like it'd be such a great organization for like an 18 or 19-year-old today.
Perfect job of a kid getting out of high school.
It's so perfect.
It's
it's actually life skills that they didn't learn in high school.
Yeah, you're not going to get it anywhere.
Right.
Where are you going to get it?
Yeah.
Between the hustle and communication, perseverance, right, and knowing your worth.
Right.
Our kids that know how to do this make $300-$400 a day.
Right.
It's not going to be until they get that job as a doctor or a very high paying job that they're going to see that kind of money.
Sure.
So they start to believe they're worth that.
Yeah.
And that's what someone needs. They need the belief that they're worth something.
100%.
In life. And that's what they're not getting in the school system. Everyone gets a ribbon. Everyone gets a medal. No one can fail.
Right.
Well, that's not the real world.
No, it's not.
So that's what our business is about. And so as an entrepreneur, I feel like I've grown and evolved a lot. And that's why I'm the guy who's doing the Cardone University and Ty Lopez social media courses. Like,
sure,
I do that stuff.
You're still thirsty for information, man.
Why? That's what life's about. Right?
Absolutely.
And having that growth.
We're always growing, man.
You got it.
How much would you attribute your success to your fitness discipline? Because this is why I was so excited to meet with you, and it's been, better than I had even imagined it, because here's a guy that's not only mastered business and entrepreneurship, but he also did it while mastering, and discipline, having that discipline of fitness that I just feel is so, like they're more correlated than enough people talk about. Okay. Yes. Because just the energy, the sharpness, the cognitive, sharpness that we need to be able to make decisions.
100%.
When you're doing that, overweight and with a poor diet, right? I've done it, man. And I just got off keto. Like 2 months ago, and
I see you now. I've seen you on the videos.
Yeah.
You don't look the same as a year ago, man.
Yeah, I know. I lost some weight, right? Because I was feeling it, man. Like even in the business, like I'm operating slow. My energy's draining. I'm reaching for the Red Bulls way too soon, right? Yeah. Now I'm jacked up and I'm still reaching for the Red Bulls, but I didn't even really need it. It's probably an addiction.
Yes.
But yeah, man. So how much did you actually attribute your business success to your ability to have that discipline with fitness?
Okay, that's a great question. My instructor, Steve Nasty Anderson.
Okay.
He's been my mentor.
Yeah. This guy's like a world champion, by the way.
He's known as the greatest karate fighter of all time. I'm going to send you a link that we're doing at our gala this Friday. I'm going to send you the link of the video tracking his career. But once upon a time in 1983, he was compared to Wayne Gretzky. When Gretzky had just done 212 points in 83, 84 with the Oilers.
Yeah.
He was compared because for 18 months on the U.S. national circuit, he went without losing a fight. And karate is kind of like golf. If you win a few tournaments in a year, you had a good year.
Okay.
Right. With karate. Kickboxing is different. It's one fight. But karate, you might have 9-10 fights in a tournament.
Right.
So you slip on some floor, you could get side kicked, you might lose a fight. Steve Anderson was so dominant. And the reason he was so dominant wasn't his natural physical abilities. He wasn't the most flexible guy or anything like this, but it was because of the strength of his mind. So when I started with Mr. Anderson at 17 years old, I've been doing martial arts as a kid, but when I started with Mr. Anderson at 17 years old, what I got from Mr. Anderson was so much more than here, kick this punch and do these kicks, do these punches, train hard, but the mentality that the mind determines the body.
Mm-hmm.
right? So you're asking about the fitness, but you're using the word discipline.
Right.
And that's the actual most important part. I'm the last guy you should actually talk to. Although I've trained thousands of people on how to lose weight and everything like this, I like to eat, man.
Sure. Yeah.
I crush it.
Yeah.
I crush it.
Yeah.
Right. And when I travel with my kids on the weekends all over North America for their triathlons, like, man, that McDonald's drive-through like will kill a man. Right.
Right.
And I hate it. I would rather eat healthy and eat clean. But under my time clumping world, unfortunately, there's the realities. Right. So he taught me about the mind determining the body. So if the mind has decided it wants X, Ben, you want to go at 41 years old with a fake hip and you want to win a world title, you need to be at your weight and fitness level that you were in your 20s.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to achieve that result you want, there's a path. Part of the path is eating right.
Right.
So do you really want that, or are you blowing smoke? No, I want that. Okay. Well, you know how to do intermittent fasting. You know how to eat healthy. You know how to train. Take these steps, or don't talk about wanting that.
Right.
So when you can tie an objective to really what you want to actually accomplish. So if you want to be in the best shape of your life, you want to have an 8% body fat and you write all that down. You know about the goal setting. You write all that down, but then you create the path.
Right.
And the path is where the discipline is. So I call it the process. If you can start to enjoy and love the process, the goals are achievable.
Right.
So many people focus on the goal and they see like, oh man, I'm 20 pounds away, or I haven't hit my metric or my quota for the month. I'm behind on my, no. Love picking up the phone and crushing it.
Right.
Love knocking those doors. Love getting up at 7 a.m, like I've been doing the last 2 months, and doing my skipping alone, skipping and shadow boxing, Versa climber,
right,
going to yoga. You have to love that, because if you can start to love the process, the goals will happen.
Right.
People look at it the other way, like, oh man, I got to hit this weight. I hate this diet.
Yeah.
Dude, stop talking like that. You're never going to get there.
100%.
Right. So I don't know if that kind of answered your question, but it's more about, I talk about embracing the process.
Sure.
Whatever you want to do. I want to be a better sales guy. Well, embrace the training, man.
Right.
Be okay with doing cardio in an hour every morning, or doing your audiobooks, or whatever you got to do. Embrace that, or take it as a challenge.
And enjoy it. Find a way to enjoy it.
Find a way to enjoy it.
Right.
Gamify it. Have a buddy that does it with you. Do whatever you've got to do to make it right, but find a way to enjoy your process in anything you're doing. And you never feel like you're going to work. You always feel like you're playing a game, or you're crushing it, and whatever, and have that mentality. That's the mentality that gives you the energy to not need the Red Bull.
Right.
I don't drink coffee.
Right.
I'm a guy who works 18-hour days
Yeah.
without a coffee.
Yeah.
For 100 days straight.
Right.
Right.
You got no lack of energy, man.
That's in you.
Right.
That's in you. The question is, are you harnessing it?
Right.
So
I think it's in everybody.
And I eat like a mother, man. So like, I say, if I gotta get in shape, I'm gonna get in shape for this world championship. I'll go beat these dudes up in Austria next month.
I'm gonna come back and eat some McDonald's.
I'm gonna beat them really bad. I'm gonna beat them up really bad. And then especially the 20-year-olds. I fight the 35 and over and the 18 to 34. I'm not worried about this 35 and over.
Got it.
I'll go beat up the kids.
Right.
Because their minds are weak.
Right.
They're not gonna go into the dark places that I'll go to crush them.
Right.
Like, that is the mentality you have to have. So
why Game of Thrones with a man?
So why do I come back and fight? Why does a guy who's won 15 world titles do that? I don't need to do it. I could care less.
Yeah.
But why not?
Right. Dude,
keeps you sharp for everything else.
Look, I could talk to you for hours. I'm gonna have to get you back on another time.
Yeah,
I'd like to do this again. We're gonna wrap it up. But what I'd like to do is if there's we've been beating on the 17, 18, and 19-year-old kids a bit, which is good. But we also inspire them, because obviously you've changed so many 17, 18, and 19-year-olds' lives.
Every day, baby.
So for the 17, 18, 19-year-old boys and girls that are listening right now, okay, what is one actionable piece of advice that you would give them if they're looking to get into business or entrepreneurship in Canada?
Oh, that's really good. My advice would be appreciate your parents.
Okay.
Appreciate your parents, appreciate the roof you have over your head, and utilize that time before it becomes real. Don't sit on your parents' couch at 30, man.
Yeah.
Before it gets real, before you're done your schooling or whatever, like I don't push university and college, things like this, man. I didn't need any of that stuff.
Sure.
I didn't learn anything over there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But For most people, they need that because they need that structure,
Right.
right? But what I would recommend is appreciate your family from the perspective of you got a chance right now. You got a few years before the world's going to get real.
Right.
Before all the people are going to tell you you need to have this 9 to 5 and 2 weeks off, and before that happens,
You can take such big risks.
you can take huge risks right now.
Yeah.
And get out there, self-educate. The material's more available than ever before.
Yeah.
And I used to call it the University of Ram. I drove a Dodge Ram. Audiobooks. Man, you're going to the gym, you're working out, you're on the bus, whatever you're doing, get the freaking audiobooks going.
100%. I got a
On the
45-minute
right-
commute every day,
on
right?
the
It's
right content, you're
podcaster.
crushing. You've just double dipping of your time.
Yeah.
You have to drive to
Right.
get here.
Right.
Use that hour and a half, and over the course of a year, you're getting more than a university degree in any specific area,
Right.
whether it be real estate investing. So don't let if you're 17, 18, 19 years old and you want something for your life, I want to learn about real estate. Dude, by the time you're 22 years old, you could be literally on stage teaching real estate investing if you just start listening to an hour of it a day.
It's awesome,
So,
man.
That's my advice.
Ben Stewart, thank you, brother.
All right,
this has
brother.
been
Thanks,
been
Andrew.
amazing, man. Thanks so much for
been a
coming on
lot
the
of fun,
show. Ben, like, if people want to connect with you more, if people want to check out some of the books, like, where can they go see that?
Yeah, they would go to my personal website.
Yeah.
So Ben,
Yeah.
BEN hyphen
Yeah.
Stewart, STEWART.com.
.com. So for
You
those
got it.
watching, we're going to put that right at the bottom here.
Yeah.
For those listening, Ben/Stewart, STEWART.com. Man, this has been awesome. Thank you so much, brother.
Thanks so much, sir.
Till next time.
Have a great time.